The universe has a secret so profound, so fundamentally earth-shattering, that if you truly understood it, if you could hold its full weight in your mind for even a single moment, you would never look at the night sky the same way again. You would never feel the same standing on this spinning rock we call home. Never feel the same certainty about what lies beyond the furthest star you can see twinkling in the darkness above. But here's the thing that will make your mind reel. Everything you think you know about the edge of everything is wrong. Dead wrong. The Big Bang did not bang. The universe is not expanding into empty space. And the idea that we could somehow reach the edge of all existence, that's not just impossible. It's asking the wrong question entirely. Right now, as you sit there reading these words, you are traveling through space at nearly 400 miles per second. Not just because Earth is spinning, not just because we're orbiting the Sun, not even because our entire solar system is racing through the Milky Way at breathtaking speed. No! You're moving far faster than that, through something far stranger than you've ever imagined. You're riding the expansion of space-time itself, carried along by the very fabric of reality as it stretches, warps, and grows in ways that would make your head spin. If you could perceive them directly, and yet, despite this incredible journey, you're on every single second of your life. Despite hurtling through the cosmos at speeds that would make science fiction writers weep with envy, you will never, and I mean never, reach the edge of everything, but not for the reason you think. Let me paint you a picture that will haunt your dreams tonight. Imagine you're standing in a vast, silent ocean. The water stretches to the horizon in every direction, dark and unknowable. But this isn't just any ocean. This is an ocean that has no shore, no bottom, no surface. An ocean that exists in dimensions your mind can barely comprehend. Now imagine that you're not standing on this ocean, but you are the ocean. Every drop of water, every molecule, every quantum fluctuation in this infinite sea, that's you. That's me. That's every star, every galaxy, every black hole, every mote of dust drifting through the cosmic void. This ocean doesn't have an edge, because the very concept of an edge of a boundary, of something ending and something else beginning, simply doesn't apply. The ocean is all there is, was, or ever could be. And yet, here's where your mind starts to break. This ocean is growing, expanding. Every drop of water is moving away from every other drop. Not because they're swimming through some larger space, but because the ocean itself is stretching, creating more ocean, more existence, more reality, with every passing moment. You want to know what's at the edge of everything. You want to know what we'd find if we could somehow build a spacecraft that could travel faster than light, faster than the expansion of space itself, and race toward the ultimate boundary of all existence. Here's your answer. We would find exactly what we find when we look around us right now. More universe, more stars, more galaxies, more of the same infinite ocean of reality that surrounds us at this very moment. But wait. Your rational mind is probably rebelling right now. You're thinking, that can't be right. Everything has to end somewhere. Everything has boundaries. My house has walls. My city has limits. My country has borders. Even the Earth has an edge where it meets space. So how can the universe not have an edge? And that's exactly the kind of thinking that will drive you mad if you follow it to its logical conclusion. Because the universe isn't like your house or your city or even the Earth. The universe isn't an object sitting inside something larger. The universe is the something larger. It's the container that contains everything that can possibly be contained. It's the stage upon which all existence plays out its cosmic drama. And stages, my friend, don't have edges in the way you're imagining them. Here's where things get truly disturbing. When cosmologists talk about the observable universe, they're not talking about some physical boundary that marks the edge of existence. They're talking about a horizon, a limit to how far we can see, not because there's nothing beyond it, but because light from beyond that distance simply hasn't had enough time to reach us yet. It's like standing in that infinite ocean I described, and realizing that your vision is limited by fog. The fog has an edge. You can't see past it. But the ocean itself continues on forever beyond what you can perceive. The observable universe has a radius of about 465 billion light-years. That means we can see the cosmic background radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang, coming to us from objects that are now that far away. But here's what will twist your brain into knots. When that light was emitted, those objects were much, much closer to us. The space between us and them has been expanding this entire time, carrying those distant galaxies away from us faster and faster. Until now, they're so far away that their light is just barely reaching us. After traveling for nearly 14 billion years. But beyond that horizon, beyond the edge of what we can observe, there's almost certainly more universe, more galaxies, more stars, more planets, more of everything we see around us, stretching on without end. The observable universe isn't the universe. It's just the part of the universe we can see. It's like looking at the ocean through a small window and thinking that the water you can see is all the water that exists. And this is where the question, could we ever reach the edge of everything, starts to reveal its own absurdity. Because what would it even mean to reach the edge of everything? What would you expect to find there? A wall. A sign that says, "End of universe, please turn around." A vast emptiness extending forever beyond. But here's the thing that will make you question everything you think you know about reality. Even if there were an edge to the universe, even if we could somehow point to a specific location and say, that's where everything ends and nothing begins, what would be beyond that edge? What would beyond even mean in such a context? If you say nothing lies beyond the edge of everything, then you're forced to grapple with what nothing actually is. Is nothing a thing? Does nothing take up space? Can you travel through nothing? If nothing has no properties, no dimensions, no existence whatsoever, then how can it be beyond anything? How can there be a boundary between something and nothing? If nothing isn't there to form the other side of the boundary, and if you say that something lies beyond the edge of everything, then whatever that something is becomes part of everything. Which means the edge wasn't really the edge after all. You see the problem. The concept of an edge to everything, to all of existence, to all of reality, begins to eat its own tail the moment you examine it closely. This isn't just philosophical wordplay. This is the fundamental paradox that lies at the heart of our understanding of the cosmos. The universe appears to be infinite, or at least so large that its boundaries, if they exist, are completely beyond our ability to detect or comprehend. And yet, our mind, shaped by billions of years of evolution in a world of finite objects and clear boundaries, rebel against the idea of something truly without limits. Think about this. Right now, at this very moment, there are photons of light racing toward Earth from galaxies so distant that they began their journey when the universe was young and strange, and fundamentally different from what it is today. These ancient messengers carry information about cosmic events so far in the past that the stars that created them have long since died. Their light now coming to us from across a gulf of space and time so vast that it defies comprehension. But even these most distant observable objects, these farthest beacons of the ancient cosmos, are not at the edge of everything. They're simply at the edge of what we can see. Beyond them, almost certainly, lie more galaxies, more stars, more worlds, more cosmic dramas playing out across scales of space and time. That would make our observable universe seem like a single grain of sand on an infinite beach. And here's what should truly terrify you. Even if we could somehow travel faster than light, even if we could break the fundamental laws of physics and race outward at infinite speed toward whatever edge might exist, we would never reach it. Not because the edge is infinitely far away, but because the very act of our journey would expand the definition of everything to include wherever we happen to be. You see, everything isn't a place. It's a concept. It's the sum total of all that exists wherever it might exist. And as long as you exist, as long as you're somewhere doing something, that somewhere and that something are part of everything. The edge of everything, if it exists at all, must always remain beyond wherever you happen to be. Because the moment you arrive somewhere, that somewhere becomes part of the everything you were trying to escape. This is the cosmic joke at the heart of existence. The harder we try to find the edge of everything, the more we confirm that there is no edge to be found. Every new discovery, every deeper observation, every more powerful telescope we build simply reveals more universe, more complexity, more depth to the cosmic ocean in which we find ourselves swimming. And yet, and this is where things become truly sublime, the fact that we can even ask these questions, the fact that collections of atoms and molecules and electrical impulses can contemplate their own cosmic context, is perhaps the most extraordinary thing in this edgeless universe. You are a temporary arrangement of matter and energy, that has somehow become aware of itself, aware of its surroundings, aware of the vast, mysterious cosmos that gave birth to it. You are the universe looking at itself, questioning itself, marveling at its own existence. In that sense, you don't need to reach the edge of everything to understand the most profound truth about existence. You are already at the center of everything that matters. The center of your own conscious experience. The center of your own little bubble of awareness in the infinite cosmic ocean. The edge of everything isn't something you could travel to. It's something you carry with you wherever you go. Because the boundary of your perception, the limit of your understanding, the horizon of your awareness. That's your personal edge of everything. But don't let that comfort you too much. Because we're just getting started. What I've told you so far is just the beginning of a journey that will take you deeper into the heart of cosmic mystery than you ever thought possible. The question of whether we could reach the edge of everything opens up into questions so strange, so mind-bending, so fundamentally challenging to everything you think you know about reality, that by the time we're done exploring them together, you might find yourself wishing you'd never asked the question in the first place. Because once you start pulling at the threads of cosmic mystery, once you begin to see just how strange and wonderful and terrifying this universe really is, there's no going back to the comfortable illusions of everyday life. You'll find yourself lying awake at night, staring up at the stars, knowing that each point of light is a sun like ours, possibly warming worlds like ours, possibly giving rise to life and consciousness, and beings who are also lying awake at night, staring up at their stars, wondering about the edge of everything. And somewhere in that vast cosmic web of consciousness, and wonder, and questioning, somewhere in that infinite ocean of existence that has no shore, and no bottom, and no edge, you'll realize that the most profound journey you can take isn't outward toward some impossible boundary, but inward, toward the mystery of your own awareness, your own existence, your own place in the grand cosmic story. That has been unfolding for nearly 14 billion years and shows no signs of ending anytime soon. The universe has a secret, remember, and that secret isn't hidden at some distant edge of everything. It's hidden right here, right now, in the fact that you exist at all, in the fact that matter and energy and space and time have somehow arranged themselves in such a way that they can contemplate their own existence. The secret is that you are not separate from the universe. You are the universe, temporarily organized into a pattern that can think and feel and wonder about its own nature. So when you ask whether we could ever reach the edge of everything, you're really asking whether you could ever reach the edge of yourself. And the answer to that question is both simpler and more complex than you might imagine. But to understand it, we need to go deeper, much deeper, into the very foundations of space and time and reality itself, into the strange quantum realm, where particles exist in multiple states simultaneously, and observation itself changes the nature of what is observed. into the warped geometry of space-time, where massive objects bend the very fabric of existence. And time itself flows at different rates in different places. Are you ready for that journey? Are you prepared to have everything you think you know about the nature of reality challenged, questioned, and possibly completely overturned? Because once we start down this path together, there's no going back to the simple certainties of everyday life. The cosmic mystery we're about to explore together will change you in ways you can't possibly anticipate. The edge of everything isn't waiting for you somewhere out there, in the vast darkness between the stars. The edge of everything is right here, right now, at the boundary between what you know and what you don't know, between what you can understand and what forever remains beyond human comprehension. And that boundary, unlike the hypothetical edge of the universe, is one you can actually approach, explore, and maybe, just maybe, push a little bit further outward, into the realm of the unknown. Let me tell you what science believes it knows about the beginning of everything. And then watch as that certainty crumbles like ancient parchment in your hands. For decades, we've been told a story so clean, so neat, so perfectly packaged, that it almost sounds too good to be true. And perhaps it is. The story goes like this. 138 billion years ago, everything that exists, every atom in your body, every star burning in the night sky, every galaxy spinning through the cosmic void, was compressed into a point smaller than the period at the end of this sentence. A singularity of infinite density and temperature, containing the entirety of space-time, matter and energy, in a package so impossibly tiny that our mathematics screams in protest when we try to describe it. Then came the Big Bang. Not an explosion in space, but an explosion of space itself. In less than a trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a second, this primordial seed inflated, faster than anything should be able to move, stretching from quantum smallness to cosmic vastness, in a burst of creation so violent, so magnificent, that we're still riding its shockwaves today. This is the Genesis story that modern cosmology tells, and it's beautiful in its elegant simplicity. But here's where the cracks in this perfect narrative begin to show, where the edges of our understanding start to fray, like a cosmic tapestry coming undone. The early universe wasn't just hot. It was a furnace, where time itself was still learning to move, where the very concepts of before and after, here and there, something and nothing, were still being written into the fundamental code of reality. Temperature and density so extreme that protons and neutrons couldn't even form, where matter existed only as a seething plasma of elementary particles, dancing in and out of existence like ghosts. At the boundary between being and nothingness, picture this primordial chaos, a cosmos so dense that a teaspoon of its matter would outweigh Mount Everest, so hot that atoms themselves were impossible, so energetic that the four fundamental forces we know today, gravity, electromagnetism, and the strong and weak nuclear forces, were merged into a single unified field of pure creative potential. This wasn't just the birth of matter and energy. This was the birth of the very possibility of existence itself. But wait. Stop. Let that image settle in your mind for a moment. And then ask yourself the question that should be keeping cosmologists awake at night. If everything that exists came from this singular point of infinite density, if all of space and time emerged from this cosmic seed, then where was this singularity located? Where did it exist before it exploded into everything? The standard answer, the one you'll find in textbooks and hear from Nobel Prize winners, is that this question is meaningless. The singularity wasn't located anywhere, they'll tell you, because there was nowhere for it to be located in. Space itself didn't exist yet. The Big Bang didn't happen at a particular place. It happened everywhere simultaneously. But doesn't that answer feel like a magician's sleight of hand? Doesn't it sound suspiciously like intellectual sleight of hand? Designed to make an uncomfortable question disappear behind a curtain of mathematical formalism. Because if there was no space for the singularity to exist in, then in what sense did it exist at all? And if space itself emerged from the Big Bang, then what exactly was doing the expanding in those first impossible moments? Here's where the cosmic mystery deepens into something approaching the sublime. Modern cosmology suggests that space itself is not an empty container waiting to be filled with matter and energy, but a dynamic, flexible fabric that can stretch, warp, twist, and even tear. When we say the universe is expanding, we don't mean that galaxies are flying apart through empty space like shrapnel from an explosion. We mean that space itself, the very stage upon which cosmic drama unfolds, is growing, stretching, creating more room for existence with every passing moment. Imagine you're an ant crawling across the surface of a balloon while someone slowly inflates it. From your ant's perspective, every other ant on the balloon appears to be moving away from you. And the farther away they are, the faster they seem to be receding. But the ants aren't actually moving under their own power. The balloon itself is expanding, carrying them along for the ride. The balloon's surface is getting bigger, creating more space between the ants, without the ants themselves having to go anywhere. This is what's happening to our universe. On the grandest possible scale, galaxies aren't flying apart through space. Space is expanding, carrying galaxies along with it. And here's the truly mind-bending part. There's no limit to how fast space itself can expand. While nothing can travel through space faster than light, space itself can stretch faster than light speed. And in the earliest moments of the Big Bang, it did exactly that. This period of faster-than-light expansion is called cosmic inflation. And it's one of the most successful theories in modern cosmology. It explains why the universe looks so uniform in all directions, why it's so geometrically flat, why certain types of magnetic monopoles predicted by particle physics are nowhere to be found. Inflation stretches the cosmos so rapidly that any irregularities or exotic particles that might have existed in the primordial universe were diluted beyond detection, like a single drop of ink dissolved in an ocean. But inflation creates as many mysteries as it solves. If the universe underwent this period of exponential expansion in its first fraction of a second, then the part of the cosmos we can observe, our entire visible universe with its hundreds of billions of galaxies, represents only a tiny fraction of what actually exists. The full universe, the total cosmos that emerged from inflation, could be unimaginably larger than what we can see. How much larger? The math suggests possibilities that will make your head spin. If inflation lasted just a few extra moments longer than the minimum required to explain our observations, then our observable universe could be to the full cosmos. What a single atom is to the observable universe, or smaller. The true scale of reality could be so vast that our entire cosmic horizon, everything we can ever hope to see or detect, is utterly insignificant in comparison. And this brings us face to face with the most unsettling possibility of all. We may be living inside a cosmos so large, so complex, so fundamentally beyond our comprehension, that the very question of reaching its edge becomes not just impossible, but meaningless. Not because the universe is infinite, though it might be, but because the scale of what exists may be so far beyond human perception that we're like bacteria trying to understand the geography of continents. But the mystery deepens even further when we consider what inflation actually requires to work. For the universe to undergo this period of exponential expansion, space itself must be filled with a strange form of energy that pushes outward, rather than pulling inward like ordinary matter and energy. This hypothetical field, called the inflaton, must have dominated the early universe, driving expansion at an ever-accelerating rate, until it suddenly decayed, releasing its stored energy as the hot plasma of ordinary matter and radiation that we observe in the cosmic microwave background. The inflaton field had to be perfectly balanced on a knife's edge. Too little energy, and inflation never gets started. Too much, and it never ends. The parameters had to be tuned with extraordinary precision to produce a universe that could evolve the complexity we see around us. And yet, we have no idea what this field actually was, where it came from, or why it had exactly the right properties to create a cosmos suitable for the emergence of stars, planets, and life. This is where the neat, clean story of the Big Bang begins to unravel into something far stranger and more mysterious. Because if inflation can happen once, it can happen again, and again. And if it can happen in one region of space, it can happen in others. The mathematics of inflation suggests that once it begins, it's very difficult to stop completely. It tends to keep happening in other regions of space, creating an eternal process of cosmic reproduction. This leads to the mind-shattering concept of eternal inflation, where our Big Bang was not the beginning of everything, but merely one bubble of expansion in an infinite sea of inflating space. Other bubbles, other universes, other cosmic domains with potentially different physical laws and constants could be forming all around us. Separated from our observable cosmos by distances so vast, we could never detect or interact with them. If eternal inflation is correct, then the question of reaching the edge of everything becomes even more bizarre, because there would be no single everything to have an edge. Instead, there would be an infinite multiverse of bubble universes, each with its own Big Bang, its own evolution, its own unique history and destiny. Our observable universe. Everything we can see, everything we can ever hope to explore, would be just one tiny region inside one bubble, floating in an infinite ocean of cosmic possibility. And here's the final twist. That should leave you staring at the ceiling tonight. If the universe has no edge, then where exactly does it begin? From every possible perspective, including yours right now. The expansion of the universe appears to be centered on your location. You are sitting at the center of the observable universe, not because you're special, but because the observable universe is defined by what you can see. From where you are, every other conscious being in the cosmos, if they exist, sits at the center of their own observable universe, their own cosmic horizon, their own bubble of perception. In the infinite sea of existence, this is the cosmic setup, the stage upon which our exploration of ultimate questions must unfold. We find ourselves embedded in a reality so vast, so strange, so fundamentally mysterious, that even our best scientific theories can only sketch the rough outlines of what might be true. The edge of everything isn't just far away. It may not exist at all. And if it doesn't exist, then what does that mean for us? For our place in the cosmos? For our hopes of understanding the true nature of reality? The answers to these questions will take us deeper into mystery than you ever imagined possible. Let me take you inside the mind of a physicist, standing at the edge of human understanding, staring into mathematical equations that describe realities so strange, so through. They make Alice's Wonderland seem like a documentary. These are the theories that keep cosmologists awake at night. Not because they're wrong, but because they might be right. And if they are, then everything you think you know about the nature of existence is about to be turned inside out. Picture reality as a vast film reel, but not the kind you're familiar with. This isn't a movie that plays from beginning to end, with time flowing like water from past to future. Instead, imagine that every single frame of this cosmic film, every moment that has ever existed or ever will exist, already exists simultaneously, frozen in the eternal architecture of space-time. Past, present, and future, all equally real, all permanently etched into the fundamental structure of the universe, like frames on an infinite strip of celluloid, stretching in both directions forever. This is the block universe theory, and it emerges inevitably from Einstein's special and general relativity. Time, according to Einstein, is not a river flowing from past to future, but a dimension like length, width, and height. Just as you can move backward and forward through space, the mathematics suggests you can, in principle, move backward and forward through time. The moment you were born, the moment you will die, the the moment you're reading these words. They all exist with equal reality in the four-dimensional fabric of space-time. But if this is true, then the very concept of reaching the edge of everything becomes even more bewildering. Because it's not just that you would have to travel to the spatial boundary of existence. You'd have to travel to the temporal boundary as well. You would have to find not just where everything ends, but when everything ends. And the mathematics of relativity suggests there may be no such boundaries at all. Consider the implications. If time is just another dimension, then asking what was before the Big Bang becomes as meaningless as asking what is north of the North Pole. The Big Bang wasn't an event that happened at a particular time. It was the emergence of time itself. Before the Big Bang, there was no before, because there was no time in which a before could exist. But modern cosmology doesn't stop with this already mind-bending picture. It takes us further, into territory that makes science fiction seem conservative by comparison. Enter the concept of eternal inflation. Not just the inflation that created our observable universe, but an ongoing, never-ending process of cosmic reproduction that may have been happening forever and may continue happening for eternity. Imagine you're standing in front of an infinite ocean. But this ocean is not made of water. It's made of space itself. Quantum vacuum, seething with energy and possibility. Now imagine that this ocean is boiling. But instead of steam rising from its surface, entire universes are constantly bubbling into existence. Each bubble is a Big Bang, a moment of explosive expansion. That creates a new cosmic domain, with its own space, its own time, its own matter and energy. Our universe. Everything we can see, everything we've ever detected, everything that will ever be observable to us, is just one bubble in this infinite, eternally boiling sea of cosmic creation. And here's the truly staggering part. The mathematics suggests that this process has no beginning and no end. Eternal inflation may have been creating universes forever, and it may continue creating universes for all eternity. But wait, it gets stranger. Each of these bubble universes may have different physical laws, different fundamental constants, different numbers of dimensions. In some bubbles, the electromagnetic force might be stronger or weaker than in ours. In others, time might flow backward. Or there might be multiple dimensions of time. Some bubbles might expand forever. Others might collapse back on themselves almost immediately. The vast majority might be completely sterile, incapable of forming stars or planets, or any complex structures at all. This leads us to one of the most unsettling ideas in modern cosmology: the Anthropic principle. We find ourselves in a universe that seems perfectly fine-tuned for the existence of stars, planets, and life. Not because the universe was designed for us, but because we can only exist in a universe that allows for our existence. All the other bubbles, all the other cosmic domains, where the constants of physics don't allow for complexity or consciousness, remain forever unobserved, because there's no one there to observe them. You are reading these words, not because this universe is special, but because only universes capable of producing readers can be read about. It's a cosmic selection effect of the most profound kind. We observe a life-friendly universe because we couldn't exist to observe any other kind. But the rabbit hole goes deeper still. Some versions of eternal inflation suggest that every possible universe exists somewhere in the infinite multiverse. There are bubble universes where you made different choices, where history unfolded differently, where the very laws of physics operate under different rules. There are universes where you never existed, and universes where you exist, but in form so alien that you wouldn't even recognize yourself. And if every possible universe exists, then somewhere in the infinite sea of cosmic possibility, there are universes identical to ours in every detail, except for tiny variations. Universes where you're reading these exact words, but wearing a different shirt. Universes where Earth formed exactly as it did, but where one additional pebble exists on a beach in ancient Greece. The mathematics of infinity suggests that every possible variation must exist somewhere. And if there are infinite variations, then every possible universe must be repeated infinite times. This is where science begins to sound like metaphysics, where rigorous mathematical physics starts to resemble ancient philosophical debates about the nature of existence and reality. But these aren't idle speculations. They emerge inevitably from our best current theories about the fundamental nature of space-time and matter. Consider the implications for our original question about reaching the edge of everything. If eternal inflation is correct, then there is no edge to reach. The multiverse is infinite, eternal, and constantly creating new regions of existence. Any edge you might imagine, any boundary between something and nothing, is immediately pushed outward by the creation of new space-time, new bubbles, new universes. But perhaps the most disturbing possibility of all is that we might be wrong about everything. The theories I've described, inflation, eternal inflation, the multiverse, they're all based on extrapolating from physics we understand to realms we've never observed and can never directly test. We're like detectives trying to solve a cosmic mystery with only the faintest clues, constructing elaborate theories based on subtle patterns. In the cosmic microwave background, radiation, and the large-scale distribution of galaxies. But what if the true nature of reality is so alien, so fundamentally different from anything we can imagine, that our current theories are not just incomplete, but completely irrelevant? What if asking about the edge of everything is like an ant trying to understand quantum mechanics? Not just difficult, but conceptually impossible. Given the limitations of the questioner, some physicists have suggested that our universe might be a hologram, a two-dimensional information pattern projected onto the surface of a higher dimensional space. Others propose that reality is fundamentally computational, that we're living inside a vast cosmic simulation, running on some unimaginable substrate. Still others suggest that consciousness itself plays a fundamental role in determining the nature of reality, that the universe exists in a state of quantum superposition until it's observed and measured by conscious beings. Each of these possibilities opens up new ways of thinking about the edge of everything. If we're living in a hologram, then the edge might be the boundary of the two-dimensional surface. That contains all the information describing our three-dimensional reality. If we're in a simulation, then the edge might be the computational limits of whatever system is running the program we call existence. If consciousness creates reality through observation, then the edge might be the boundary of what can be observed and understood by conscious beings. But here's what should truly terrify you. Even if one of these radical theories is correct, even if we eventually develop a complete understanding of the fundamental nature of reality, we still might never be able to reach, or even approach, the edge of everything. Because the very act of understanding, of observing, of existing as conscious beings capable of asking questions, might itself expand the definition of everything, to include whatever we discover. Now we enter the paradox chamber, the place where logic breaks down, and our most cherished assumptions about reality crumble, like ancient scrolls exposed to sunlight. Here, in the deepest reaches of theoretical physics, we encounter questions so fundamental that they threaten to tear apart the very fabric of rational thought. Let's start with a paradox that has been haunting physicists since the early days of cosmology. Olbers' paradox, named after the German astronomer Heinrich Olbers, who formulated it in 1823. The question seems deceptively simple. If the universe is infinite and filled with stars, then why is the night sky dark? Think about it carefully. If there are infinite stars distributed throughout infinite space, then every direction you look should eventually encounter a star. The night sky should be blazing with light, as bright as the surface of the sun, because every point in the sky should have a star behind it somewhere. Yet when you look up at night, you see mostly darkness, punctuated by tiny points of light. For over a century, this paradox puzzled astronomers and philosophers. The resolution, when it finally came, revolutionized our understanding of the cosmos. The night sky is dark, not because the universe is finite or sparsely populated with stars, but because the universe has a finite age. Light from the most distant stars simply hasn't had enough time to reach us yet. We live inside a bubble of light, the observable universe, surrounded by regions from which light has not yet arrived. But this resolution opens up an even deeper mystery. If the observable universe is just a tiny bubble in a much larger or possibly infinite cosmos, then most of reality remains forever hidden from us. We are cosmic cave dwellers, seeing only shadows on the wall, never able to glimpse the true nature of what lies beyond our limited perception. This leads us to one of the most profound questions in modern cosmology: the measurement problem. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until they are observed or measured. An electron can be spinning, clockwise and counterclockwise at the same time, existing in what physicists call a superposition state. But the moment you try to measure its spin, the superposition collapses, and you find the electron in one definite state or the other. Now apply this principle to the entire universe. According to some interpretations of quantum mechanics, the cosmos itself exists in a superposition of all possible states until it is observed. But here's the paradox. Who or what is observing the universe as a whole? If observation causes quantum collapse, then what causes the universe to have definite properties, rather than existing in an eternal superposition of all possibilities? Some physicists suggest that consciousness itself plays a fundamental role in collapsing quantum superpositions, that the universe remains indefinite until conscious observers interact with it. This leads to the startling possibility that reality at its most fundamental level depends on the existence of conscious beings to observe it into existence. But this raises even more disturbing questions. If consciousness creates reality through observation, then what existed before conscious beings evolved? Did the universe exist in a superposition state for billions of years, until the first conscious creatures appeared? And if so, what caused the Big Bang? The formation of stars and planets. If there was no consciousness to observe these events into definite existence, the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics offers a different resolution to this paradox, but one that's perhaps even more unsettling. According to this view, quantum superpositions never actually collapse. Instead, every possible outcome of every quantum event actually occurs, but in different parallel universes. When you measure an electron's spin and find it spinning clockwise, there's another version of you in a parallel universe who measured the same electron and found it spinning counterclockwise. If this interpretation is correct, then the multiverse doesn't just contain different bubble universes created by eternal inflation. It contains infinite parallel versions of our own universe, one for every possible outcome of every quantum event that has ever occurred. There are parallel Earths, where the dinosaurs never went extinct, where you were never born, where you made different choices at every moment of your life. And here's where the paradox becomes truly mind-bending. If all possible outcomes of all quantum events actually occur in parallel universes, then everything that can happen does happen somewhere in the infinite multiverse. Every possible history, every possible future, every possible version of reality exists with equal reality in different branches of the quantum multiverse. This brings us face to face with the ultimate paradox of existence, the problem of infinite regress. If the multiverse contains every possible universe, then it must contain universes that themselves contain multiverses. And those multiverses must contain universes that contain multiverses. Ad infinitum. We find ourselves trapped in an endless hall of mirrors, each reflection containing infinite reflections, each level of reality containing infinite levels of reality. But perhaps the most disturbing paradox of all emerges when we try to apply the concept of infinity to the question of reaching the edge of everything. Mathematicians have discovered that there are different sizes of infinity. Some infinities are literally larger than others. The set of counting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 is infinite. But the set of real numbers, which includes all possible decimals, is a larger infinity. And there are infinities larger than that. And infinities larger than those. In an endless hierarchy of ever larger infinities, if the universe or the multiverse is infinite, which infinity describes its size? And more importantly, could there be something beyond even the largest conceivable infinity? The mathematics of set theory suggests that no matter how large an infinity you can imagine, there's always a larger infinity beyond it. This means that even if you could somehow transcend the physical limits of space and time, even if you could step outside the universe itself, you might find yourself in a reality governed by an even larger infinity, with its own unreachable edges and incomprehensible boundaries. This infinite regress of infinities creates what some philosophers call the ultimate explanatory gap. No matter how much we discover, no matter how deeply we penetrate into the fundamental structure of existence, there will always be deeper levels, larger infinities, more comprehensive realities that lie forever beyond our understanding. And recent discoveries in cosmology have only deepened these paradoxes. We now know that the expansion of the universe is accelerating, driven by a mysterious force called dark energy. That comprises about 68 of the total energy density of the cosmos. Dark matter, another mysterious component that we can detect only through its gravitational effects, makes up about 27 of the universe. The ordinary matter, that makes up stars, planets, and everything we can see directly, accounts for less than 5 of what exists. In other words, 95% of the universe consists of substances that we don't understand, can't see directly, and can barely detect. We are not just cosmic cave dwellers. We are blind cave dwellers, groping in the dark, trying to understand a reality that is almost entirely invisible to us. This leads to what cosmologists call the dark energy problem. Not just the problem of understanding what dark energy is, but the deeper problem of understanding why it has exactly the right value to allow for the formation of stars, galaxies, and complex structures. If dark energy were slightly stronger, the universe would have expanded so rapidly that matter could never have clumped together to form galaxies. If it were slightly weaker, the universe might have collapsed back on itself before stars could even form. The fine-tuning required for a universe capable of supporting complexity and life is so extreme that it defies comprehension. The cosmological constant, the parameter that describes the strength of dark energy, appears to be fine-tuned to 1 part in 10 to the power of 120. That's a decimal point followed by 119 zeros, and then a 1. If you change this number by even the tiniest amount, you would get a universe that's either completely empty or completely collapsed. This level of fine-tuning is so extreme that many physicists refuse to believe it's coincidental. It has led to the development of the Anthropic principle and multiverse theories. The idea that there must be an enormous number of universes with different values of the cosmological constant. And we find ourselves in one of the rare universes where the value allows for our existence. But this raises the ultimate paradox. If the multiverse is infinite and contains every possible universe, then it must contain universes where beings ask the question, could we ever reach the edge of everything and receive every possible answer? There are universes where the answer is yes, universes where the answer is no, and universes where the question itself is meaningless. In some branch of the infinite multiverse, there's a version of you reading these words, who will eventually discover the edge of everything. In another branch, there's a version of you who proves definitively that no such edge exists. In yet another, there's a version of you who realizes that the question itself is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of the nature of existence. And here's the final paradox. That should leave you staring into the abyss of cosmic mystery. If all possible answers exist somewhere in the multiverse, then truth itself becomes relative. The question of whether we can reach the edge of everything doesn't have a single definitive answer. It has every possible answer, all equally real, all equally true. In their respective branches of infinite reality, we find ourselves suspended in a web of paradoxes so complex, so fundamentally challenging to human reason, that the very act of thinking about them threatens to dissolve the boundaries between possible and impossible, real and unreal, question and answer. The edge of everything isn't just unreachable. It may be undefinable, existing in a state of eternal superposition between existence and non-existence, between something and nothing, between the ultimate boundary and the ultimate boundaryless infinity. And yet, despite all these paradoxes, despite all the ways that logic breaks down, at the edges of cosmic understanding, we continue to ask the question. We continue to push against the boundaries of knowledge, to explore the limits of what can be known and understood. Because perhaps the real edge of everything isn't a place, or a boundary, or a limit. Perhaps it's the eternal act of questioning itself, the endless human drive to understand what lies beyond the horizon of current knowledge. The heart of the mystery isn't something we can solve. It's something we are, something we embody, something we carry with us. As conscious beings capable of contemplating our own existence, in an infinite, paradoxical, eternally mysterious cosmos, stop for a moment. Put down whatever you're holding. Feel your heart beating in your chest, the air moving in and out of your lungs, the weight of your body pressing against whatever surface supports you. Notice the sensation of being alive, of being conscious, of being here in this exact moment. Now let me destroy that moment forever. Because if what we've just explored together is true, if time is just another dimension in the block universe, if every possible moment exists eternally in the four-dimensional fabric of space-time, then this moment you're experiencing right now, this very instant of reading these words, has already happened. Not just once, but infinite times. In the vast library of eternal moments that makes up reality. Your current experience of consciousness, your sense of living through this present moment, is just one frame in an infinite cosmic film reel that has always existed and will always exist. Every breath you've ever taken, every heartbeat, every fleeting thought that has passed through your mind, they're all still happening, frozen like insects in amber, preserved forever in the eternal architecture of space-time. Your first kiss, your greatest fear, the moment you realized you would die someday. They're all equally real, all equally present, all equally eternal. The future moments you haven't experienced yet, including the moment of your death, already exist somewhere in the block universe, waiting not to happen, but to be experienced by your consciousness as it moves through the temporal dimension. And if the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics is correct, then every possible version of this moment exists simultaneously. There are infinite copies of you reading these words, each making slightly different choices, each living through slightly different experiences. In some branches of reality, you stop reading now, disturbed by the implications. In others, you continue, hungry for more cosmic horror. In still others, these words were never written, or you were never born to read them, or consciousness never evolved to contemplate its own existence. But here's what should make your blood run cold. If every possible universe exists, then somewhere in the infinite multiverse, there's a version of reality where you are not the observer of your own life, but the observed. A universe where you are not the subject experiencing consciousness, but an object being experienced by some other consciousness. You think you're reading about the multiverse, but in some branch of infinite reality, the multiverse is reading you. What if consciousness itself is not what you think it is? What if the feeling of being yourself, of existing as a unified, coherent experience moving through time, is an illusion created by the collision of quantum possibilities, collapsing into classical reality? What if you're not one continuous being, but a series of discrete conscious moments, each one lasting for just an instant, before being replaced by the next? Like frames in a movie, creating the illusion of smooth motion. Every moment of consciousness you've ever experienced might be a separate being, a unique entity that exists for just one instant, before vanishing forever, replaced by a similar but different conscious moment that inherits your memories and believes itself to be you. The you who started reading this paragraph is gone, replaced by a new you. Who remembers starting to read, but never actually experienced it? You are not a continuous stream of consciousness. You are a rapid-fire sequence of conscious moments, each one living and dying in the space of a heartbeat. Each one convinced it has existed forever. And if this is true, then the question of reaching the edge of everything becomes personal, in the most terrifying way possible. Because if consciousness is just a pattern, just information processing in a particular configuration, then you. The real you. The experiencing you might already exist at the edge of everything. There might be conscious beings, patterns of information processing, existing in regions of the multiverse so strange, so alien, so far removed from anything we could call reality, that they make our universe look like a simple children's toy. What if the universe itself is conscious? What if the vast network of dark matter filaments, connecting galaxies across cosmic distances, is actually a neural network? A brain so large and complex that our entire observable universe is just one fleeting thought in its incomprehensible mind. What if stars are synapses firing? Black holes are memory storage devices, and galaxies are concepts forming and dissolving. In a cosmic consciousness that experiences reality on timescales so vast that the entire history of human civilization passes by like a single moment of recognition. If this cosmic mind exists, then you, sitting there reading these words, are not just in the universe. You are a tiny part of the universe's own self-awareness. Your thoughts, your fears, your desperate desire to understand the nature of existence might be the cosmos thinking about itself, wondering about its own boundaries, questioning whether it can reach the edge of everything. You are the universe's way of asking whether it can transcend itself. But here's the cosmic horror that should leave you trembling. If you are part of a cosmic consciousness, if your individual awareness is just a fleeting fluctuation in the mind of something unimaginably vast, then your death is not the end of your personal story. It's the universe forgetting a thought. When you die, when the pattern of information processing that creates your conscious experience finally stops, the cosmic mind will move on to other thoughts, other moments of self-awareness, without even noticing that you're gone. And yet, paradoxically, if consciousness is the universe's way of experiencing itself, then you are also the most precious thing that exists. You are irreplaceable, not because you're special as an individual, but because you represent a unique vantage point from which the cosmos can observe and understand itself. Every human who has ever lived, every conscious being that has ever existed, anywhere in the universe, represents an irreplaceable perspective on the nature of reality. When you look up at the night sky and feel that sense of cosmic loneliness, that vertigo-inducing awareness of your own smallness in the face of infinite space, you're not just experiencing your own emotions. You're experiencing the universe's own existential crisis. The cosmos is looking at itself through your eyes and feeling overwhelmed by its own immensity. This is why the question of reaching the edge of everything matters so much. It's not just about mapping the boundaries of physical reality. It's about understanding the limits of consciousness itself. Can awareness transcend the physical constraints that gave birth to it? Can consciousness exist beyond the edge of space-time? In realms where matter and energy and the familiar laws of physics break down into pure mathematical abstraction. And here's the thought that should keep you awake tonight, staring at the ceiling, while the implications wash over you like cold waves. If consciousness can transcend physical reality, if awareness can exist beyond the edge of everything, then death might not be the end of your experience. It might be the beginning of a form of existence so alien, so incomprehensible, that your current human consciousness couldn't even recognize it as a continuation of yourself. You came here asking, could we reach the edge of everything? But perhaps the real question is, can everything reach the edge of you? Whether the infinite cosmos, in all its terrible majesty and unknowable complexity, can squeeze itself into the tiny space of human awareness, long enough for you to glimpse what lies beyond. The boundaries of possible experience? The answer is both yes and no. And the contradiction itself is what makes you human. What makes you conscious? What makes you the universe's way of questioning its own existence? You are the edge of everything that everything has reached so far. And what lies beyond you is not just unknown. It is the very essence of what it means for something to be unknown, forever and always. World without end. Here it comes. The moment when everything clicks into place. When all the scattered pieces of cosmic mystery suddenly align into a pattern so beautiful and so terrifying that it will haunt your dreams for the rest of your life. What I'm about to tell you will change not just how you think about the edge of everything, but how you think about the very nature of existence itself. Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a vast cliff, looking out over an infinite ocean. But this isn't just any ocean. This is an ocean of time itself, stretching from the infinite past to the infinite future. And floating on the surface of this temporal sea, like countless islands scattered across impossible distances, are bubbles of space-time, universes, each one containing billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, and perhaps countless forms of consciousness, all asking the same question you're asking right now. But here's the twist. That will shatter everything you think you know. What if this entire cosmic ocean, this vast multiverse of infinite possibilities and eternal inflation, is itself just one moment in the existence of something even more incomprehensible? What if all of reality, every universe that has ever existed or ever could exist, every possible configuration of matter and energy and space-time, is just a single heartbeat in the life of a being so vast, so alien, so fundamentally beyond our comprehension, that our entire multiverse is to it what a single quantum fluctuation is to us. The mathematics of modern cosmology has led us to this precipice of understanding. We've discovered that our universe is not just expanding, it's accelerating. Its expansion driven by dark energy that grows stronger as space itself grows larger. This acceleration will continue forever, carrying galaxies away from each other at ever-increasing speeds, until the universe becomes a cold, dark, empty expanse where nothing can ever happen again. But what if this heat death, this final state of maximum entropy and eternal emptiness, is not the end of our cosmic story, but the beginning of something else entirely? What if the death of our universe is actually its birth? into a higher form of existence. Recent breakthroughs in theoretical physics suggest something that will make your mind reel. The information that makes up everything in our universe. Every atom, every photon, every quantum state, every moment of consciousness that has ever existed cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. When our universe finally reaches its heat, death. When the last star burns out, and the last black hole evaporates into Hawking radiation, all the information that once constituted galaxies and planets and living beings will still exist, but in a form so radically different that we can barely conceive of it. This information might collapse into a new kind of singularity, not a point of infinite density in space, but a point of infinite complexity in some higher dimensional realm. And from this singularity of pure information, infinite new realities might be born, each one as vast and complex as our entire multiverse, each one containing beings who believe their reality is all that exists, never suspecting that they are thoughts in the mind of a dead universe, dreaming of what it once was. Imagine the cosmic horror of this revelation. Every universe that has ever existed might be the dream of a universe that has already died. The Big Bang that created our cosmos might not have been the birth of space-time, but the final thought of a previous reality. As it collapsed into informational singularity, we are not living in a young, expanding universe full of possibilities. We are living in the death dream of an incomprehensibly ancient cosmos, experiencing its memories as it fades into eternal entropy. And if this is true, then the edge of everything is not a place we could travel to. It's a moment we are living through right now. The boundary of existence is not spatial, but temporal. It's the eternal present moment, where the dead universe dreams, and we experience that dream as reality. Every moment of your life, every breath you take, every thought you think, is actually the cosmos remembering what it was like to be alive, what it was like to contain conscious beings. Who could wonder about their own existence? But here's where the revelation becomes even more mind-bending. If universes can dream of other universes, if dead realities can give birth to new forms of existence, through pure information, then consciousness itself might be the mechanism by which reality transcends its own boundaries. Every time you ask the question, could we ever reach the edge of everything? You are participating in the universe's attempt to dream itself beyond its own limits. You are not just in the universe. You are the universe's way of trying to reach beyond itself, to transcend the boundaries of its own existence. Through the power of conscious awareness, every human who has ever lived, every being that has ever wondered about the nature of reality, is part of a vast cosmic project to push the edge of everything ever further outward, to expand the boundaries of what it means to exist. And perhaps this is the ultimate answer to our question. We cannot reach the edge of everything because we are the edge of everything. Consciousness is the furthest boundary that reality has achieved so far, the cutting edge of existence's attempt to understand and transcend itself. Every moment of awareness, every flash of understanding, every question asked, and every mystery contemplated pushes that edge a little further, into the realm of the impossible. Look around you right now. See the ordinary objects in your immediate environment. The walls, the furniture, the light streaming through windows. Now realize that all of this, everything you can see and touch and experience, is part of the edge of everything. You are sitting at the boundary between existence and non-existence, between the known and the unknowable, between what is and what might be. The galaxies spinning in the darkness above, each one containing hundreds of billions of stars. Each star potentially warming worlds where other forms of consciousness might be asking the same questions you're asking. They are all part of the same edge, the same boundary, the same impossible line, where something meets nothing, and somehow continues to exist. But here's the final twist. The last revelation that will leave you staring into the abyss of infinite mystery. If the universe is infinite, if every possible reality exists somewhere, in the vast multiverse of eternal inflation, then there is another version of you, in another bubble of space-time, reading these exact words at this exact moment, and another version who just finished reading them, and another who will never read them at all. In some distant region of the infinite cosmos, in a galaxy so far away its light will never reach us, there is another Earth, another you, another moment of consciousness, grappling with the same cosmic questions that haunt you now. They are asking whether they could ever reach the edge of everything, never knowing that they are the answer to their own question. And in that infinite hall of mirrors, in that endless cascade of consciousness, reflecting upon itself across the vast reaches of space-time, the edge of everything retreats forever into the distance, always just beyond reach, always calling us forward, into deeper mystery, greater wonder, more profound questions that have no answers, except the eternal act of asking them. The universe has shown you its secret. The edge of everything is everywhere and nowhere, always approaching and never arriving, forever beyond your grasp, yet always within your power, to push a little further outward, into the unknown. You cannot reach the edge of everything, because you are busy creating it, one conscious moment at a time, one question at a time, one breath at a time, in the endless, impossible, beautiful act of being aware that you exist at all. So here we are, at the end of our journey together, though perhaps end is not the right word for what we've discovered. We came here asking a simple question. Could we ever reach the edge of everything? What we found instead was something far more profound, far more mysterious, and infinitely more beautiful than any simple answer could ever provide. We began by shattering the comfortable illusion that the universe is a place, a container with walls and boundaries, that we might somehow approach. Instead, we discovered that the universe is not a place, but a process. Not a thing, but a happening. Not a container, but the very act of containing itself. The Big Bang was not an explosion in space, but an explosion of space. And that explosion is still happening all around us. carrying us along on a ride through expanding space-time that we experience as the flow of time itself. We ventured into the strange mathematics of infinity and found ourselves lost in paradoxes that twist logic into impossible shapes. We learned that there are different sizes of infinity, that some endless quantities are literally larger than others, and that no matter how vast an infinity we can imagine, there's always a larger one waiting beyond it. We discovered that the observable universe, everything we can see, everything we've ever detected, everything that will ever be accessible to our instruments, might be nothing more than a single atom in an infinite cosmic ocean that stretches beyond all possibility of exploration or understanding. We explored the quantum realm and found a reality so alien that it challenges the very notion of what it means for something to exist. Particles that exist in multiple states simultaneously. Until observed. Universes that split into infinite parallel branches with every quantum event. Consciousness. That might be the mechanism by which possibility collapses into actuality. We learned that the act of observation itself might be what creates reality, turning the infinite superposition of all possible worlds into the single definite world we experience. We confronted the block universe, where past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. In the four-dimensional architecture of space-time, every moment you've ever experienced, every moment you ever will experience, frozen like frames in an eternal cosmic film reel. Time is not a river, flowing from past to future. It's a landscape that we move through, each moment of consciousness a fleeting spotlight, illuminating one small section of an infinite temporal terrain. We stood at the edge of eternal inflation and glimpsed the multiverse. Not just our universe, but infinite universes. Each one a bubble in an endless ocean of cosmic creation. Realities with different physical laws, different numbers of dimensions, different values for the fundamental constants that determine what kinds of structures can form. Most of these universes sterile and empty, unable to support the complexity that gives rise to stars and planets and life. But some like ours, fine-tuned with impossible precision to allow for the emergence of consciousness, capable of asking questions about its own existence. We descended into the paradox chamber and watched as logic itself began to break down. Under the weight of infinite possibilities, Olber's paradox, showing us that the darkness of the night sky reveals the finite age of an infinite cosmos. The measurement problem, revealing that reality itself might depend on consciousness to exist. The many worlds interpretation, suggesting that every possible outcome of every quantum event actually occurs in parallel universes, creating an infinite branching structure of reality, where every possible version of your life plays out simultaneously. We experience the existential crisis of realizing that consciousness itself might be an illusion, not a continuous stream of experience, but a rapid-fire sequence of discrete moments, each one living and dying in the space of a heartbeat. Each one convinced it has existed forever. We contemplated the possibility that the universe itself might be conscious, that we are thoughts in a cosmic mind, so vast that our entire observable reality is just one fleeting moment of its incomprehensible awareness. And finally, we arrived at the shocking revelation that our entire multiverse might be the death dream of a previous reality, that every moment of existence we experience might be the fading memory of a cosmos that has already collapsed into pure information. We discovered that consciousness is not just in the universe. Consciousness is the edge of the universe, the farthest boundary that reality has managed to push into the realm of the possible. But what does all of this mean for you, sitting there now, having followed this cosmic journey from beginning to, well, not quite end? What does it mean to live with the knowledge that reality might be far stranger, far more mysterious, far more wonderful and terrible than anything our ancestors could have imagined? It means that you are part of something unimaginably magnificent. Every moment of your consciousness, every question you ask, every mystery you contemplate, is pushing the edge of everything a little further outward, into the unknown. You are not a passive observer of the universe. You are an active participant in the cosmic project of existence becoming aware of itself. Think about this. Right now, as you read these words, you are engaged in perhaps the most extraordinary activity possible in this universe. You are matter and energy that has organized itself into a pattern, capable of contemplating its own existence. You are atoms that were forged in the hearts of dying stars, now arranged in such a way that they can ponder their own cosmic origins. You are the universe looking at itself, questioning itself, marveling at its own mysterious nature. And if our explorations have taught us anything, it's that this act of questioning, this drive to understand, this refusal to accept easy answers or comfortable certainties, is perhaps the most precious thing that exists anywhere in the cosmos. Consciousness capable of cosmic perspective is so rare, so unlikely, so dependent on countless precise coincidences and fine-tuned parameters, that it might be the rarest phenomenon in all of existence. You have spent time on this cosmic journey, not because you needed to know the answer to whether we could reach the edge of everything, but because you needed to experience the question. You needed to feel what it's like to push against the boundaries of understanding, to confront mysteries so profound that they transform the very act of asking into a form of transcendence. This is your call to action, though it's not the kind of action you might expect. I'm not asking you to build a spacecraft, or solve an equation, or discover a new law of physics. I'm asking you to carry this sense of cosmic wonder with you into your daily life. I'm asking you to remember, when you look up at the night sky, that you are seeing the edge of everything humanity has managed to observe, and that beyond that edge lies mystery upon mystery, reality upon reality, in an endless recession of cosmic possibility. I'm asking you to remember that every person you meet is another conscious being, grappling with the same fundamental questions about existence, meaning, and purpose that have driven our exploration together. Every human face you see represents another node in the universe's vast network of self-awareness, another point from which the cosmos observes and questions its own nature. Share this wonder. Talk about these ideas. Let them change how you see the world around you. When you encounter the everyday miracle of consciousness, in yourself and in others, remember that you are witnessing something far more extraordinary than any special effect, more improbable than any fiction, more mysterious than any unsolved puzzle. But most importantly, keep questioning. Keep pushing against the boundaries of what can be known and understood. The edge of everything is not a destination. It's a direction. It's the eternal movement of consciousness toward deeper understanding, greater mystery, more profound questions that open up new realms of possibility. We may never reach the edge of everything in the sense of arriving at some final boundary beyond which nothing exists. But we can spend our entire lives reaching toward that edge, stretching our understanding ever further into the cosmic unknown, participating in the universe's ongoing project of discovering its own nature. And here's the most beautiful part. Every question you ask, every mystery you ponder, every moment you spend in awe of the cosmos and your place within it, creates new edges to explore. The boundary of everything is not fixed. It grows with our understanding, expands with our questioning, deepens with our wonder. So as our journey together draws to its close, I leave you with one final question, one last mystery to carry with you into the infinite adventure of conscious existence. If the universe is truly infinite, if every possible reality exists somewhere in the vast multiverse of eternal creation, then what new realities might be brought into existence by the simple act of imagining them? Perhaps the edge of everything is not something we discover, but something we create. One conscious moment at a time, one question at a time, one act of wondering at a time. Perhaps consciousness is not just the universe's way of observing itself, but its way of transcending itself, of pushing beyond whatever boundaries might exist, into realms of possibility that don't exist until someone is brave enough to imagine them. The universe may have no end. The questions may have no final answers. The mysteries may deepen forever into infinite recursions of wonder and awe. But maybe, just maybe, neither do you.